This is the Westport Library. This is more. This is not far from the WCBS studios, to be honest with you. So the first one I picked, lacrosse. Who does what? There's a great story behind this. So here I am, a relatively new resident here in Westport, which my family is blissfully happy here. But my daughter has decided to play lacrosse, which is great. Somehow, I have become an assistant coach, and that's great, but not so great in the sense that I don't even know what a lacrosse stick looks like. So I actually went on the computer and I Googled for the most simplistic introduction to lacrosse, and this is what the Westport Public Library has. So lacrosse, who does what? Middies, I now know midfielders and attack and defense, so that's one book that I picked out. Collins' 40-Minute Portuguese. I'm going to learn to speak Portuguese. My wife is from Brazil. We've been married for 15 years, dated for about 5 years prior to that, and my Portuguese is like nil. I can kind of get by a little bit with my Spanish, no, not really. Yeah, so funny story, when I met my girlfriend's father at the time, very cultured guy, speaks a number of languages, but in his home he speaks Portuguese. And he asked me if I wanted to go to the movies with them. Now in Spanish you'd say "Quieres ir al cine?" Well, in Portuguese it's cinema. Now that's pretty logical, right? Cinema, right? Except when you're listening to it with like a Spanish ear, cinema in Spanish means without Emma. So I could tell he wanted me to do something, but without Emma. No, I'm not here for Emma, I'm here for Sharon. Anyway, that's my Portuguese story. Amanda Gorman, The Hill We Climb. When she read it at the inauguration, it captured so many of us, and sometimes we were captured by the emotion, and we didn't necessarily hear all the words. I want to hear and know all the words. This is A Promised Land, Barack Obama. Whether you like him, whether you don't like him, whether you were a supporter, whether you were not a supporter, he's a presidential human being, and yeah, I want to know more about him. Backyards, all right. I told you, our relative new residents here in Westport. Well, we're in the process of putting a pool in. I need to know everything about making my pool and my backyard cool that I possibly can. So I kind of just, went onto the Westport Public Library website and just did a search for private pools. And I just want to learn some things I should be doing. I'm not building it myself, but things I can tell the developer and the pool builder, I want this, I want that. Just by perusing through this book already, you learn terms that, okay, I now know what hardscape is, which I didn't know before. Superstorm Sandy. This was the epicenter of my career, Superstorm Sandy. For those of you who don't know, I work as the chief meteorologist at CBS News, and yeah, really, really, really interesting story here with Superstorm Sandy. A horribly interesting story. But I was in the studio, and it was my job, and it's probably the most important job that I'm ever going to do, is to get the messages out to people about what to be expected. And believe me, I work as a weatherman. I've heard every joke. Oh, you can be wrong 40% of the time, 60% of the time. Choose your percentage, right? And still keep your job, which is not entirely true. But this was something else. This was something else. I mean, people lost their lives. I saw the whole thing coming together, and I had to sound the alarm. I wasn't out in the trenches with all the people who were experiencing it, in that horrific way, and I'd like to know some of that. The science behind it, it's a pretty compelling story there. That could be a whole other book, right? About how everything came together. And everything had to work out perfectly in order for this monster to develop, and it really did. I mean, strange things that never typically happen. The jet stream sort of folding back on top of itself and pushing that storm directly at us at a 90-degree angle for, my goodness, 12 hours. Anyway, that's one that this is a professional read within what I do for work, but it's one that I'm interested a great deal in. I call this book candy. James Patterson, whom I love. My wife is big with her reading online. I love to hold the book. And I will tell you, and I don't do it with my library books, but when I buy the books, I dog-ear them. It's kind of how I get through it if I can't find my bookmark, but I love holding a book. And this is pure R&R for me. Rest, relaxation, kick back with a book on a great day on the Chase Lounge out by what will be my new pool someday. 1957. Okay, this is historical fiction, which is just something I like. 1957, a pivotal year in the United States. Industrialization ramped up, where Sputnik's out there. We're not quite where we want to be, but our space program is burgeoning as well. Okay, this is a book that I did not come to the library knowing I wanted to look for. This is a book, Baseball Road Trips. It's every single baseball stadium in the country. And look, I wouldn't be the first person to come up with this, to put it on my bucket list. I know a lot of people have done it ahead of me, but I share that desire, the idea of being able to make a road trip to every single ballpark in the country. I realize some have much grander history. Some haven't been, updated. Fenway, Wrigley, a lot have been, even torn down and rebuilt better. But I want to know, and I'd like to, I don't know if I'm ever going to do it, quite frankly. I don't know if I'll ever do that. I don't know if I have enough time. But if I can't do it, I want to read about it. And that has been my day at the Westport Library. See this? This is high-tech visual effects. Truly, I consider myself lucky to be living in this town, and one of the reasons, a funny story about the library, when we came to Westport and we looked at a bunch of houses, like everybody does, right? I mean, you look at 100 houses. This is pre-pandemic when there were 100 houses to look at. So we're looking around, and we find a house that we like, very close here to the library, and we ended up deciding on a house farther down Greens Farms, closer to the Southport line. And our realtor said to us, this is a great house, and I think your family's going to be very happy here. I think this is the house for you, but the one downside is it's not as close to the library as the other house. Who knew this was like, like a real estate selling nugget? Check it out.